This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1490. 5 Thoughts on Financial Freedom, my 3-year update, by Chris Reining of chrisreining.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. This is the show where I read to you from some of the best blogs on personal finance every day, including weekends and holidays. Thanks so much for joining me as we tackle the many facets of the taboo topic of money. I know I'm really enjoying these posts and getting ideas on how to improve my own personal finance journey. I hope you are too. And before we get to it, I wanted to make sure you know that we have a weekly newsletter sharing tips, tricks, advice, inspirational quotes, and more. It's a great way to show your support and totally free. Just enter your email address at oldpodcast.com to join. And now let's get right to today's post and start optimizing your life. 5 Thoughts on Financial Freedom, my 3-year update, by Chris Reining of chrisreining.com. What's the first thing you'd do if you won the lottery? Like anyone posing with a door-sized check says, I'm quitting my job. That's why I really admire anyone who loves what they do, who can sit there doing the same thing for half a century, because in reality, 85% of people hate their job. So while lottery tickets are one way to escape the rat race, isn't there a more practical strategy? Well, I can tell you that 99% of wealth advice can be boiled down to one sentence. Make more than you spend and invest the difference. This well-worn path to the good life is boring and takes forever, but it works. I know because after many years spent investing, I had enough money to meet living expenses without working. So yeah, at age 37, I quit. 3 years later, I'm convinced that this was the right choice because time is more precious than money, and what makes you happiest is being engaged in how you spend it. You're almost definitely working more than 8 hours a day. It's easy to trick yourself into thinking you work 8 hours per day, but let's do the math. You wake up early, hop in the shower, get dressed, eat breakfast. You're in the car at 7:30 for that twice-a-day punishment called rush hour. At the office until 5, and then back in the car to make it home by 5:30. That's 10 hours per day or $2,500 per year without adding the evening calls and emails. And if you hate your job, what kind of life is that? These days, I spend my time eating super clean, lifting weights, meditating, and doing yoga. You free the hours to do all the things you know you should do, but don't have time for. You don't have to stop learning when you stop working. A common concern people have about leaving the workforce early is their knowledge and skills deteriorating. If they need a job someday, they'll earn less than if they just stayed. But isn't this only true if you're the type of person who's going to sit on the couch all day watching old movies? It's more likely that you'll be learning, adding knowledge and skills you'd never pursue, which increases your value. And that's what employers pay for, the value you provide. The past few years, I've grown more than ever. I've learned to play bridge to sharpen discipline and planning, read stacks of books to upgrade my knowledge, and started writing more to become a better, clearer thinker. How can you possibly be worse off? Being self-sufficient can be deeply satisfying. There's an article in the New Yorker about billionaires getting laser eye surgery and buying up secret islands because they're scared the world is going to end. What they're seeking is self-sufficiency. But aren't billionaires the least self-sufficient people on the planet? Do you think they're changing diapers, getting groceries, ironing shirts, or vacuuming? Ironically, they'd be self-sufficient if they did the chores others do for them. I'm finding all those meaningless things like cooking every meal from scratch and cleaning up deeply satisfying. Why? It's what makes you self-sufficient. The most valuable network is the one you control. A friend worked at the same company for decades, but then got laid off. They were desperate for a paycheck, but didn't have a network. This is why it's beneficial to switch jobs every few years in order to expand your connections. The other way to network is to do things in public for the public. Years ago, I started a website to share what I was noticing about money and investing. Today, there's pre-built platforms for everything: podcasts, videos, writing, and so on. What happens is people from around the world, actors, athletes, authors, producers, speakers, eventually find you and introduce themselves. Call them connections or friends. The point is, you've built a network you control that no one can take away. It pays to stay invested. The path to getting rich is making more than you spend and investing the difference, and making sure to invest that difference in things producing things. For instance, what does a chunk of gold produce? You're just hoping someone else pays more than what you paid, and that person hopes the same thing. On the other hand, an apartment building produces monthly cash flow. Shares of stock, which are part ownership of a business, produce revenue and earnings. I've been in stocks since 2001. Yes, it's been a roller coaster ride with the dot-com bubble, housing bubble, and global financial crisis. I don't know if the market will be higher or lower in a month or year from now, but I know it's likely to be significantly higher 20 years from now, and so I stay on the ride. You just listened to the post titled 5 Thoughts on Financial Freedom, my 3-year update, by Chris Reining of chrisreining.com. We've all lived through the financial crash of 2008, unless you're barely a teenager listening to the show, and if that's the case, good for you. But in any case, most of us are concerned that another potential drop is around the corner. Imagine having a portion of your savings protected from that volatility by owning the world's oldest and most trusted form of exchange, gold. Gold lets you save outside of the banking sector, privately, in a trusted fashion. And to get your hands on it, try Vaulted. It's an incredibly low-cost solution to buy and sell gold securely, all through an easy-to-use web app where you can purchase and save gold at the tap of a finger. When stocks go down, historically, gold has a tendency to do the opposite. It appreciates. So a balanced portfolio of stocks and gold has a significantly lower risk of a large drop, as we learned from 2008. By adding some gold to your portfolio, you can cut your long-term risk almost in half. So check out Vaulted. Sign up for an account today at vaulted.com/optimal. That's VAULTED.com/optimal. While I completely agree with Chris's thoughts here on some of the benefits of financial freedom, I wanted to offer you a quick thought on the motivation to retire early. If you want to retire early just to get away from a job you don't like, your motivations might not serve you all that well. There are many retired people who are completely miserable, I think partly because they retired from something rather than retiring to something. The FIRE path is more likely to lead to happiness when it's used to open up options and create more control and autonomy over how you use your time. I think it can also be used as a tool for self-discovery and how you want to use your time. To me, FIRE isn't necessarily about not working. It's more of a process of separating your financial solvency from your work. Effort, after all, is the spice of life, and most of us aren't going to be very happy sitting around doing nothing all day. I've come to believe that happiness comes from the ability to be creative, deep connections and relationships with other people, and autonomy over your time. And I saw these themes weaved throughout this article when Chris talks about maintaining your network and continued learning. Obviously, one of the hooks of the FIRE movement is creating the ability to quit your job, which is fantastic, don't get me wrong. But I think the FIRE path also offers incredible opportunities for us to start asking bigger questions about what we want to create and how we want to contribute to the world. That'll do it for today and another installment of Optimal Finance Daily. Have a happy Thursday. Thank you for being here every day and listening, and I'll see you on the Friday show tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.